Hey, good morning, Liz, and whoever else is here at the moment. We're gonna get started now. So, hey, Tim, good morning. Let's begin by just settling in for a moment, bringing the mind into the present moment, taking a deep breath. Pensando Sankarab Shidisen Pamakarachbani Shuna. Susundabnata Tenga Saso Kadarmanam Sohada. Amin Chikin keep out on it to some Sangi bringing morning, some chocolate, some to slip. So in a mesha class or what. So we're going to begin as always with our bodhicitta motivation. And the way that we do that is we begin with compassion. So we want to bring to mind all the suffering of humans and animals and other beings in this cyclic existence. Unfortunately, it's very easy to think about that because it's very kind of all pervasive, right? So when we think about their suffering, we should do so from the heart so that we can feel the compassion arising, the wish that they would be free of this suffering, right? We want them to be happy and free of suffering, just like we want ourselves to be happy and free of suffering. So, out of compassion and the knowledge that the way to be free of suffering once and for all is by attaining enlightenment. So, with that in mind, we form the wish to attain enlightenment for their benefit. That's what bodhicitta is. So, if you take a moment, at least just to think, may the time we spend together this morning benefit not only ourselves, but all beings as well. Okay, so since there aren't any questions, we're going to talk about anger this morning, overcoming anger. And I'm going to use a text by Shantideva called The Way of the Bodhisattva. And this is a really, really marvelous text and well worth purchasing if you don't have it already. I think if there was one book that I would recommend, it would be this one. It really is the manual for um, developing, generating compassion. So we'll begin. And I'm taking just a handful of verses from the sixth chapter of that text called Patience. So this entire chapter deals with anger and how we should handle it, where it comes from, and so forth. Okay. So when we are considering anger, we need to look at several factors. First is the cause. So why do we become angry, right? What are the underlying reasons? And there may be reasons that are not obvious at first glance. Second, we need to look at the results of our anger, both for ourselves and others. You know, what is the effect on us as individuals and on our relationships and on the world at large? So, as I said, I'm going to be referring to the text, The Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva, and the sixth chapter on patience. So, we'll start with verse 7. In verse 7, Shantideva writes, "Getting what I do not want, and all that hinders my desire. In discontent, my anger finds its fuel. From this, it grows and beats me down." So, this entire text is written in verse. And the translator for this text, Woolston Fletcher, who is from the Padmakara Translation Group, did a very beautiful job of translating from the Tibetan text into English. Anyway, so getting what I do not want and all that hinders my desire. In discontent, my anger finds its fuel. From this it grows and beats me down. So here, Shantideva is getting at the base cause for our anger, like the root cause of our anger, which is getting what we do not want and not getting what we do want. So it's quite simple. If we examine carefully, we'll see that this is exactly the mechanism at work each time we're angry, even though we might not realize it, right? We can put a lot of words and analysis all over it, but it really does come down to frustrated desire. So let's say, we want a good night's sleep and our neighbors are keeping us awake, right? So we might feel angry at them. How dare they, right? They're so inconsiderate, they're so callous, and so forth, right? But at its base, it's I'm not getting what I want. I want a good night's sleep. I'm not getting it. And this, if we apply that to all the different situations where we might feel angry, we'll see that, it gets a little embarrassing actually, because we kind of feel like, wow, it's kind of childish, right? I'm not getting what I want, right? And then he says, from this it grows and beats me down. So beats me down, what does that mean? So we're talking here about how anger makes us suffer. And this is a really important thing to start to realize because in our without thinking, right, when we don't examine and we just are kind of giving into our anger, whatever it may be, is very other focused, right? That person did this, okay? Or, this situation is this, right? I just dropped my chili, like the guy from, what's that guy? Kevin from The Office when he drops that big pot of chili. Um, right. So it's an outer thing. We're not looking at what's happening inside, right? So it makes us suffer. When I went to like the first like real Buddhist retreat that I did was in Thailand, and they talked about, talked a little bit about anger in that retreat, and I knew at that time that I had a lot of issues with anger. It was really probably my biggest issue, causing myself and others to suffer, but I didn't know how to handle it, right? So I asked the monk, we had these private interviews. And so I asked him, like, what, how do I handle this? Right? I've got a lot of anger. I don't know what to do about it. And he said, well, I think the first thing to do is next time that you feel angry, just sit down and close your eyes and observe it. Drop like the storyline, right? Of like why you're angry or why you think you're angry. Just look at how it feels in your body and your mind. So, it took me a little time to remember to do that. It didn't take me very long to get angry again, but I kept forgetting to do that. So when I finally remembered, oh, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, it was so eye-opening, I could feel like my brain felt like it was in a vise, my whole torso felt like it was on fire. It was so unpleasant for me, right? And what happened when I actually did that was it gave me even more motivation to deal with it, to work with this emotion, and surprisingly, kind of opened the door to having compassion for others who are angry, which we almost never do. We do for like little kids. Like if a kid gets really frustrated and they start to, they throw their toy down or whatever because they couldn't make it work, like we feel sorry for them, right? But if an adult expresses anger, we don't feel sorry for them. Um, hey, Melina, we just feel they're wrong, or we might feel afraid, or we want to fight back, or we want to run away, right? But we never think, oh, that person is suffering. But if we see what anger does to us and the suffering that it causes for us, then we see it's much easier to think, oh, this person's also suffering, and to have compassion for them, right? So Right, excuse me. Okay, so then in verse 10, which is one of my favorite verses, Shantideva says, if there's a remedy for when trouble strikes, what reason is there for dejection? And if there's no help for it, what use is there in being glum? So we often get angry because we're frustrated about something, things are not working out for us, right? And then we just kind of feed that and then we feel angry, right? But Shantideva was saying, like, if you can do something about it, why be upset? You can do something about it, right? So there's no need to be upset and get angry and all worked up about it. You can do something about it, so you'll do something about it. And if you can't do something about it, well, why be upset, right? There's nothing you can do about it. So you being upset about it, it's not going to help anything. It's just going to make you suffer. So this is quite, you know, one of the first forays in this particular chapter in using logic to quell our anger, right? And this is like one of my favorite things about this text because it's not just like moral, what's the word? I don't know, I can't think of the word. It's not like just like moral commands or whatever, right? You should be like this, you should do this, you should be patient, you should be kind, right? It's saying yes, this is the aim, right? But here's why. Like, it's not just, oh, I want to be a good person or, oh, I don't want to hurt others. But this, like, there's logic behind it. So that even if we don't feel it, right? Even if we don't feel like being patient, we can bring up the logical arguments that Shantideva presents in this chapter. And I mean, really throughout the text, but in relation to anger, it's this chapter saying, can you do something about it? Then don't be upset about it. Can you not do something about it? Then don't be upset about it. It's nothing you can do, right? Okay, and here's another logical arguments. This is verse 41. Although it is their sticks that hurt me, I am angry at the ones who wield them, striking me. But they, in turn, are driven by their hatred. Therefore, with their hatred, I should take offense, right? So here and elsewhere, Shantideva reminds us that we don't become angry with inanimate objects, right? Or with our own illnesses and so forth. We don't because we understand that these things are not hurting us by choice, right? So consider noise. Like at the beginning, right? I talked about your neighbor waking you up in the middle of the night, right? So, um, uh, mm, mm, mm. Right. So if there's a thunderstorm in the middle of the night that wakes us, we don't become angry at the storm, right? We all agree that would be ridiculous to be angry at the storm. But if a neighbor's music wakes us up, we become furious with our neighbor. So Shanti Deva says this way of thinking is an error. In a sense, that people are also like not hurting us by choice. They are under the sway of their own ignorance and the power of their own emotions, right? So um, we need to be compassionate with others who are enslaved by their emotions, who are overcome by their emotions, right? So Shantideva points out also that like no one chooses to be angry. Yeah. It comes upon us like a storm. Okay. Is this right? Do you think this is right? So consider the last time that you got angry. Okay. If you can remember, maybe somebody listening never experiences anger, but kind of doubt it. But so you don't first think like now I will be angry. I am choosing to be angry, or boy, I would love to be angry, right? No, it just came on you. It's like attacked you. It feels like that, right? So the same thing happens to other people. So I want to talk about that for a second because here's where like meditation is so helpful because like it feels like it comes upon us like a sudden storm, but it actually grows from a small little thing. Yeah. It begins with irritation, just a little bit of irritation. And then what happens is like the irritation is there, and then we feed that. Okay. Like we don't realize that we're doing that typically, especially if we've never meditated or practiced before. But we start to feed that. Oh, I don't know, we talk it up, something we start to feel irritated, and then we're just like, oh, yeah, all these whatever drivers on the road, and they're horrible, and um, you know, and why is everybody like that? And nobody knows how to drive. And I remember when my dad was teaching me how to drive, and he was so nasty about it. I don't know what. And we work ourselves up. And then before we know it, we're exploding, right? But we did that from the small point, just sort of feeding it, feeding it, feeding it, feeding it. And how meditation can help with that is that we become increasingly aware. We become aware at all, first of all, of what's going on in our mind, okay? And then we become quicker through this practice of realizing what's happening in the mind. And then, like, the more we study the teachings and things like that, we know, like, what the antidote is. We know we have sort of the solution at our fingertips, right? And then we can just be like, oh, I'm feeling really irritated. And so, I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to calm down. I'm not going to hold on to that. I'm not going to feed it, whatever. Right. When that irritation is just like a little sprout, right? It's really easy to deal with when it's small. But if we allow that to grow and it becomes this giant oak tree or whatever, right? Then it's really difficult. Then we find ourselves screaming at somebody or I don't know what, right? And then it's like, it's really hard to handle at that point. So if we can handle things, deal with things when they're small, then it becomes much easier. Um, yeah. So, um, okay. So it also like through this thing of like, nobody says like, oh, I would love to be angry. Okay. Nobody like wakes up in the morning and it's just like, oh, I may get angry today. So we know somewhere that it's not pleasant. We know somewhere that we don't want it, right? But as Melina says here, maybe we don't intend to get angry, but we sure get attached to it fast. That's true. That's really true. We get very attached to it. And that's a little bit cuckoo, honestly. If we apply logic to it, it's a little crazy to get attached to our anger, but we do because we don't understand it. Okay. Sorry. We don't understand it. We don't fully understand it. Okay. And so we think this anger is helping us. We think that anger makes us strong and like powerful and that we're justified. And so, we're going to just add more fuel to the fire because I am, right? So, this I amness of it, this like I am proving I exist. We don't say that, but that's kind of what's happening underneath. It's a lie, okay? It's really a very um, short-sighted way of looking at it because it's not a position of strength at all. It's a position of weakness. It really is. You can scare people, okay? You can kind of overpower people maybe with your anger, but this is also bad for you because let's say that you're a boss or you have some kind of control like that and you're angry at people that are working for you. They're not going to want to work for you. They're going to quit the job. If you can't control your anger, okay, those people will walk away and you won't have any employees. They won't like you, they won't trust you, okay? um, if you are like I really like dogs. I'm hoping to get a dog soon. And I had a dog before who was best dog in the world. But anyway, so I watch a lot of dog training videos, right? And they're like, this for what's called like force-free training where you don't use punishments. You can like take things away or like deny things, like you can deny your attention, for example, but you're not hitting the dog or using shock collars or choke collars or, punishing the dog, right? Because you can definitely control a dog with anger, but they won't trust you and they won't love you. They're just with you and following your instructions because they're afraid of you. And this is actually a weaker bond than a dog who loves you and trusts you. So our anger is not helping us. Okay. And it's not helping us physically either. Someone who is habitually angry is going to have like high blood pressure and various sort of different ailments, maybe ulcers or something like that. I don't know. But, it's not good for us physically. It's not good for us mentally. It's not good for our relationships. It's not good for our health. It's not good for society. Like it goes on and on. Like it's just not good. And I realize that it's delicious. It can feel really good in the beginning. We feel quite, juicy and validated or whatever. But it's really it's a trick in a sense of the mind. It's not helpful at all. And so reading Shantideva, this chapter in particular, to deal with our anger is so helpful. And of course, it's something that we're going to have to practice. It's not going to just happen overnight, right? Oh, I don't want to be angry anymore. I see that it's not helping me and others. So, okay, I'm not angry anymore. It doesn't work like that, right? We have to work on it. We have to practice. We have to study. We have to try to remember. Like when I was having a lot of issues, which I may talk about later, depending on the time, um, around anger. I was fairly new to the Dharma at that time, and I was very determined. Like I just didn't want to keep going back again and again to my old habits. Right? I was like, I've gotten into the Dharma. I want to use this method to progress on the path and to help me and to help others. So, what am I supposed to do with this anger? I don't want to just go back to my old habits. So I started reading this chapter on Shantideva, and I read it many times. And I read it when I was angry, which I think is a great idea, even though, because you're like in it, right? You're in that anger and you're reading Shantideva, and Shantideva is telling you all the reasons that your anger doesn't make sense, which used to make me angry, right? But you can't deny it when you're in the middle of that, how it's painful for you, etc. Right? And I would read it when I wasn't angry, so that maybe more of it would go in, right? Because I wasn't closed off. That's the other thing about anger not being a position of strength. Because when we're angry, like what's the phrase? Blind with rage. We say that that's a phrase, right? Blind with rage. And you can actually go temporarily blind if you're angry enough. And I know that because I've experienced it, where I had so much rage, I literally could not see. And I think what happens is your blood vessels get so big or something that they um, can block your sight temporarily. Um, um, or we say red with anger, right? Because your high blood sugar, like your whole face can turn red. That's this kind of thing. Um, there was something else I wanted to talk about that. Oh, right. So your mind is not clear when you're angry. It's very unstable. It's like that, right? It's really unstable. Whereas when you're patient, when you're compassionate, when you're loving, your mind is very still. It's very calm and stable and open. And in that state, the mind is much more clear, right? And you can make a good decision from that state. From the state of anger and agitation and, all of this fire, right? We're more likely to make bad decisions. Okay. Like that's why if you're angry at somebody and you want to send them an email, put it in your draft folder, write it, go ahead and write it, but put it in your draft folder and read it again when you're not angry, right? Otherwise, you might, be very surprised by what you sent that you thought was really nice. That was not nice at all. What are you saying, Tess? Good morning. And in the grape of the, I don't know what that means, HPA axis. Um, okay, so now Shantideva, all right, hang on. There's one more thing I want to say here. So reacting with patience to someone else's anger is not the same, or to someone else's misbehavior, let's say, it's not the same as being a doormat, okay? We acknowledge there's been a wrong, but rather than approach it with anger, we approach it with wisdom and compassion, okay? Biology, okay, well, I don't know what that means, sorry. Well, maybe other people will know what HPA axis means in the field of biology. All right, so now Shantideva addresses what we might call righteous anger, right? Pardon me. So this is verse 65. And even if our teachers, relatives, and friends are now the object of aggression, all derives from factors, as we have explained. This we should perceive and curb our wrath. So, and later, and it's probably in this same section, he talks about like, even if people are destroying temples and Buddha statues and texts, we still should not be angry. Okay. Um, so here we're just talking about, so we can feel righteous anger, like, you know, um I don't know, someone's being mean to my friend and I'm really angry because that person's being mean to my friend. Okay. Let's say, just take a simple example. Um, but Shantideva says, no, even in that case, we should understand that our friend is going through that because of other factors. Okay. Meaning, first, that they are suffering due to the karma they themselves created. Don't freak out. I'll talk about it in a second. Okay. And second, that the aggressors, in turn, are overwhelmed, as we said earlier, right? Overwhelmed by their own ignorance and negative emotions. Like nobody waking up and saying, I hope I get angry, right? We become angry because um we're just overwhelmed by our own negativity, right? Furthermore, those who are harming are creating the causes for their own suffering in the future. Okay. Um, so regarding one's own and others' suffering being the result of their own karma, it doesn't mean that, it does not just say that we just sit by and let someone beat the living daylights out of our friend, right? Or ourselves. Like, we can and should act to protect them, but without anger. Okay. Not having anger doesn't mean you just are passive and you don't do anything to help others and you just let the world walk all over you. Okay. You can set boundaries, you can, kick somebody out of your life, you can, stand up for your friend and so forth, right? Put somebody in jail. All those things can happen, but it's what's happening in your own heart that's important. You can do those things with love and compassion for your friend, for the perpetrator, for yourself, or you can do those things with hatred in your heart. That's what we're addressing, the heart. Okay. Or the heart mind. um so, of course, it's much easier said than done, but we should consider it. Yeah. Okay. So now we go to verses 87 to 88. Um, if unhappiness befalls your enemies, why should this be cause for your rejoicing? The wishes of your mind alone will not, in fact, contrive their injury. And if your hostile wishes were to bring them harm, again, what cause of joy is that to you? Quote, why then I would be satisfied, unquote. Are these your thoughts? Is anything more ruinous than that? I just saw a typo. So Shantideva brings this right out into the open. Like, Shantideva's not shy, man. Okay. So this ugly way that we have sometimes of gleefully rejoicing in the suffering of someone we dislike. Okay. So I think we're all familiar with this. I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but it's more than once in my life I can tell you that, to my shame, I have seen someone I dislike, either someone I know or someone in politics or whatever, and said, good, good, they deserve that. That's rejoicing in someone else's suffering. And it's nasty, and we shouldn't do it. You know, um, First he says, like, your wishing them to suffer wasn't the cause of their suffering. So please stop congratulating yourself, Missy. Secondly, even if your wishes that they suffer were the cause of them suffering, how pathetic. How pathetic is that? Is this really the kind of person you want to be? You see what I mean? So, um, there's a lot of that happening these days. The FAFO, some of you might be familiar with if you're on social media. So FAFO means F around and find out. Okay. And those are, that's often in the context of, people voting for the current president and then getting deported or losing their SNAP benefits or whatever. Okay. And there's a kind of joy that people express around that. Well, you voted for it and now you're suffering for it. Ha ha ha. It's understandable, right, to feel that way, but it's nasty. If you look at it, just on the face of it, it's just, blah. Do we want to be that kind of person? Like, we should have compassion for these people who are suffering as a result of their own decisions. I mean, in the end, like, we all suffer because of our own decisions, right? That's called karma. Okay. So, and don't forget, there's also good karma. I get annoyed by that sort of. um I get annoyed. I get so angry um over this misunderstanding of karma as being revenge or retribution. It's so much deeper than that, but I have given talks on karma. You can look it up on our channel and see, all the things, more things around karma. Not all the things, because it's a very huge subject. But anyway, so okay, uh, verses 107 to 108. He says, "So, like a treasure found at home that I have gained without fatigue, my enemies are helpers in my bodhisattva work, and therefore they should be a joy to me, since I have grown in patience thanks to them. To them its first fruits I should give, for of my patience they have been the cause." So here he's saying, like, we think of, Buddhists use the word enemies a lot. I know that it's not really a word that we use typically. Um, in our just personal life, right? We might talk about it in terms of war or something like that, but we usually don't say that person's my enemy, right? But you get the gist, right? There's people that we don't like, people that we hate, to people who have harmed us, people we disagree with, what have you. Okay. He's saying these people who we dislike, who cause trouble for us, and so forth, are actually helping us. Okay. Um, Bodhisattva, here it talks about enemies, helpers in my bodhisattva work. So a bodhisattva, so you notice that word, pardon me, bodhicitta, which we discussed at the beginning, and bodhisattva have that same first syllable, bodhi, which is the root also of Buddha. Okay. It means like awakened. And sattva means like person. Okay. I'm sorry. So bodhisattva is person who takes a vow to return to cyclic existence as long as it takes, until all sentient beings are free. Okay. Um, so um, my so-called enemies are helpers to me because I grow in patience because of them, thanks to them, right? They're the cause of my patience, which is so important on this path to attaining enlightenment. We absolutely need patience. And Shantideva elsewhere in this text says, if everyone was kind to me, I would never be able to develop this. So I need these people. Okay. And in this and other texts, like the 8 verses of Langri Tangpa or the 8 verses of mind training, it said, like, they're helping me in so many ways. They're helping me to develop patience. Okay. Um, um, they are helping me to, in other texts, they say, like, I should regard them as my sublime master. Like, that's crazy. What? Okay. Well, that's because um, they're, again, helping us develop patience, which we absolutely need. They're helping us to realize, like, how far we've come, which is what a teacher does, right? That's like two of the main things that a guru or teacher will do, is to um, show us, how far we've come and how far we have to go, right? So let's say we've been practicing for a while, and then we you know, someone annoys us or harms us in some way, and we get angry. Okay. So we might look at that situation and go, wow, okay, I've really actually made a lot of progress, because like last year, I would have been furious at this person. And now I'm just a little bit angry, you know? Or I would have been angry for a much longer period of time, and I was only angry for a couple of hours. Okay. Um, but I still got angry, right? So I still have work to do. But so it's like super helpful. Plus, they're helping to purify our own karma. So as long as we don't retaliate, they're really doing us a favor by purifying our own negative karma. Okay. Um, okay. So, um, this uh, how we should be kind to others. Um, it just brings to mind a personal story of mine where, as I said to you earlier, like I really wanted to practice, and I really didn't want to just rely on my tired old habits, which are the reason I'm still circling cyclic existence to begin with, right? So I was relying on this text, and reading this chapter on patience over and over and over again, like the pages were falling out of the book, um, but in the end, I was able, and like I know I still have a ways to go for sure, but um, I know that any kind of real compassion and patience, any iota of real compassion and patience I developed during that time was directly because of them. I would have never challenged myself in the way that they challenged me. You know, they really like just felt I was painted into a corner. I had no choice but to rely on the teachings. And because of that, I relied on the teachings and I learned so much. And I became so much more skillful than I would have if they had not been there. Right. So okay. So in all of these verses, right, in this whole text, really, Shantideva gives us a lot of information, but just having the information isn't going to solve the problem, right? We need to contemplate these things also. We need, like while we're going through our daily lives, we need to consider these things and see if they hold water or not, see if they're helpful or not. Okay. Oh, does patience, for example, does anger make me suffer? That's a really good question, and we should look at that. Like that monk told me, I really, really encourage you to do that, just to look at how it feels, not the why, but just how does it feel in the moment, this anger, right? Um, so, uh, right. So in addition to studying this text and contemplating it, practice of meditation is a big help. Yeah. In the way that I described, first of all, which is to become more aware of what's happening in our mind, to be able to catch things when they're small, but also the meditation of Tonglen, or the practice of exchange. So we can, in for the Tonglen practice, right? There's like 5 stages. I'm not going to explain it. I will walk you through it when we get to that point. Um, but the third stage is working with an individual, and that can be one of 4 types of individuals. Someone we love a lot, or typically people will start there because it's easiest to feel compassion for someone you love. Someone who's neutral to us. So that's like someone we know, but we don't feel any particular way about them. Can be a neighbor, or I don't know, the receptionist at your doctor's office. You will recognize their face, but you don't know much about them. You don't have a relationship with them. And that one might seem like, why are we doing that? Well, why we're doing that is because, and one reason is because the vast majority of people we come in contact with actually fit that category. And we're trying to generate love and compassion for all beings without exception. So we have to include this. We should really include this. The third is someone we dislike, so our so called enemy. And that's the one we'll be doing today, since that's the topic. And the fourth is oneself. So we need to have compassion for ourselves always. We shouldn't forget that, especially in the West, where we tend to have a difficult time with that. Okay. So we're going to do some meditation and Tonglen practice right now. So begin with a few minutes of just mindfulness of breathing practice, and then we'll go into the Tonglen. Okay. So first you want to take the posture. If you're sitting on your bed or on the floor, you just cross your legs in whatever way is comfortable for you. If you're sitting in a chair, you want your feet flat on the floor. Your hands can be palms down on your knees, palms up like this, or with your fingers like that. Okay, whichever way is most comfortable. Arms are relaxed. Back is straight, so the back of the neck is also going to be straight. Okay. And the shoulders should be back a little bit. So usually I just roll my shoulders back one time. You'll see right away it opens up the chest. Mouth is closed but relaxed, tongue resting on the roof of the mouth, breathing through the nose. The eyes are sort of half open, looking down in a relaxed, lowered gaze. That's the posture, okay? So just notice that. Then we're going to bring our awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. So, into the nose. Take a moment to notice that sensation, please. Okay. So we want to do our best to maintain continuous awareness of that sensation and just letting the thoughts come and go without following after them. Let them come and go like clouds in the sky. And if you get distracted, just bring your mind back to the breath. Well, please begin that now. And now we're going to move into the practice of exchange. So we begin by just resting the mind. So as we were trying to focus on the breath there, resting the mind is we're not trying to focus on anything, but at the same time, we're not distracted. So just letting your mind settle into the natural state. So please do that now. And we do the visualization. So first, imagine in your heart center, so the middle of your chest, a very bright white light like a shining star. And then imagine that you're breathing in white light. I'm sorry. Then imagine that you're breathing in gray smoke. hot, dark, and heavy through all the pores of your body, all of that smoke dissolving into the white light in your heart center. Till there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then consider that you're breathing out white light, cool, clean, clear, very bright, through all the pores of your body, the light going in all directions. Now imagine in front of you, facing you, someone that you have a hard time with. You dislike them. They hurt you in some way. They annoy you in some way, whatever it may be. And you might experience kind of a tightening around your heart. That's okay. Just let that be there. So in this case, the first thing we want to consider, because we have a tendency to sort of concretize, like make it concrete, and it's very solid types of relationships where we think they can never change, right? So we need to think about the changing nature of relationships, how over the course of even just this life, our relationships change all the time, right? Strangers become friends, friends become loved ones become enemies, enemies become friends, enemies become strangers, loved ones become strangers, right? We can look back and we can think, for example, of our best friend in childhood. We might not even know if they're alive or dead at this point, or how the person we completely fell in love with hurt us, betrayed us, and now we hate them, right? Things change all the time. No relationship is set in stone. And then we want to consider why this person is the way they are or did what they did. And not in a way of excusing it or saying it's okay, anybody can do that to me, no problem. No, no. But there's a reason, right? Each and every sentient being, humans, animals, other beings, without exception, wants only to be happy and to avoid suffering. So every act we take, from drinking a glass of water to buying a new house to screaming at somebody, is because we want to be happy and we want to avoid suffering. And sometimes we make wise decisions in that pursuit, and sometimes we make unwise decisions in that pursuit, right? So anger, hatred comes from a place of pain and suffering. So we just need to think about that. Why did this person act the way they did or act the way they do? Maybe we know, maybe we don't know, but we can be sure that it's some kind of suffering on their part. So we're trying to connect with their heart rather than their actions. We're trying to connect with them as one of the countless beings that we are trying to benefit through practicing this path, through attaining enlightenment one day. We don't say, oh, I want to attain enlightenment for all beings except George, right? We have to include George or Mary. We have to include them. Right? So what their pain is, we can focus on their pain and their suffering and then generate compassion for them. A wish that they be free of this pain, be free of this suffering. And if we think about it, If they were free of this pain, if they were free of this suffering, what a kinder person they would be, what a nicer person, more peaceful, considerate person they would be. Their suffering is getting in the way of their own happiness. Yeah. We generate compassion for them. May they be free of this suffering. And then we think of whatever other kind of sufferings they might have. If someone is habitually negative, they have a lot of suffering in their life that they create through this negativity, right? People don't want to be around them. Often they don't understand why, because they don't have self-awareness. Or they might have health issues related to their behavior. Or they might just have kind of suffering everybody has, right? Sickness, old age, grief, divorce. So we just think about their suffering and not just think about it, but try to really feel, what does it feel like for them to have to go through these things, to live in that way where they see themselves as the victim all the time, or they don't understand why they're lonely, this kind of thing. Feel, what does it feel like? Then we generate compassion for them again, wish that they be free of this suffering. And then we consider that all their suffering, whatever it is, takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. It leaves them and it comes to you. And you breathe that in through all the pores of your body. All that smoke just dissolves into the white light in your heart center till there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then you offer this person your own happiness and good fortune, giving it away, along with anything at all that they may need to feel better, and adding to that the wish that they attain full enlightenment in this very lifetime. And all of that takes the form of white light, cool, clean, clear, very, very bright. And we breathe out this white light through all the pores of our body. And when the rays of light touch this person, we see all of their suffering just disappearing, just leaves them. And as if waking from a nightmare, they feel so relieved, so happy and at peace. And you feel joyful for being able to do this for them. Now we're going to go through the same process, but for all beings without exception. So we imagine them in front, as many beings as we can conceive of, stretching all the way to the horizon. To the right again, all the way to the horizon. Behind, as many beings as we can imagine, all the way to the horizon. And to the left, same thing, all the way to the horizon. So now we're in the middle of a sea of sentient beings, each one of whom has been our kind and loving mother in the past. Or if we don't accept that, that's fine. Just each one of whom wants to be happy like we do, wants to be free of suffering like we do, and suffers nonetheless like we do. So we imagine whatever kind of sufferings they have, physical, mental, emotional, takes the form of gray smoke, heavy in weight, hot in temperature, dark, leaves all of them, and it comes to you with a great deal of openness, courage, and compassion. You breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And all of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then you offer all of these beings without exception your own happiness and good fortune. Consider that you're just giving it away, along with anything at all that they may need to feel better, and adding to that the wish that they attain full enlightenment in this life. And all of that takes the form of white light, cool and clear, very bright. And you breathe out this white light through all the pores of your body. The light going in every direction, to the front, right, behind, to the left, as far as the eye can see. And when these rays of light touch all these beings, each individually, their suffering just lifts off of them and disappears like fog in morning sun. And we feel so happy to be able to do this for them. Imagine how wonderful. And they feel really so relieved and finally peaceful and joyful as well. Now we let go of the visualization altogether, gently bringing the mind back to the sensation of the breath, being in the present moment, here and now. Right. So now we're going to do the closing prayers. You can join as you like or not, but please stay because I have a couple of announcements to make afterwards. So you can download these through the link below, can sign up for the newsletter below, etc. But I'm going to share this screen because in case there's people who haven't had a chance. So these 4 prayers are long life prayers for the Dalai Lama and our other teachers. So we start on the left and then we do the one under and then the 2 on the right side. Kanri wa we go we shin pan su pendan de wa manu tu ne shen si wan ten sing gam su yi shape ge ga pa tu ten ge shi Om Swasti Jigme Kempe Kalong Yamparu Mugap Sejen Suse Bundawa Ito San Mkena Bocho Sechega We Shakinta Su Om Swasti Seva Kem Sujana Tenjule Ninsinda Se Yutu Pamawa Sansun Nate Gyopo Tatene Akchanten De Shetanta Ge Sho Lama Gungam Simbo Sawada Chutu Kutsiri Sawada Trine Tashin Geba Sawada Lama Dante Wa Me Bachi Bilo. So the next page, we do this prayer once in English, once in Tibetan, remaining 3 just in English, and then the 100-syllable mantra. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of cyclic existence, may I free all things. Sonandi tamche sipani tone nebe dranan panche shi vedanaji balon tupai sipe sole joa sho. May bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has arisen, may it never fail, but grow and flourish ever more and more. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may it too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. These 2 verses are actually from the Shantideva's text, The Way of the Bodhisattva. Ever absorbed in the display of divine forms and primordial awareness, appearance, sound, and perception in the state of divinities, mantras, and dharmakaya, may I, inseparable from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attain within the essence of mind the state of one taste. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishta Trito Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Subokayo Me Bawa Anurakto Me Bawa So Asidi Me Prayatsa So Akama Sutsame Chitam Shriyam Guruhum Aha ha ha hu bhagavan Savatata Vajrama Hemunsa Vajripawa Mahasamaya Sattva. Okay, so I just have a couple of announcements before I let you go. First of all the links are below, so please check those out. Our website, donations. If you're able to offer a donation, we really, really appreciate it. We have we we have a class on Wednesday evenings called Walking the Spiritual Path, where we're studying a text by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche called um, Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism. It's such a wonderful text. Um, this for this text, I'm allowing people to join whenever they like, as far as like the semesters are concerned. So we're starting the next semester or session 2 on November 12th. So you're more than welcome to join that, even if you haven't done the first session. It's kind of, I think this book works that way quite nicely. So if you'd like to join in the second, third, and or fourth session, you're more than welcome to do so. Just go to the site and look for study, and then that course and the registration and all the information about it is there. 3 times a month we do Buddha sadhana. So it's such a beautiful sadhana. I really hope you can come. It's this week, this coming week on Thursday, November 6th from 7:30 to 8. So again, all the information and the link and all that is on our site or in the links below. And then next week we have meditation in person and on YouTube at the Lakewood Library. So same time, but in person. So I hope you can join us for these things. And once again, I just want to thank you so much for coming this morning, and I hope to see you soon. Okay. Oh, one more thing. Through Jewel Heart, which is a Galupa Center, they have a Rinpoche, Demo Rinpoche, who's going to be speaking at the Strongsville Library today from 1 to 2:30 if you'd like to join there. I will be there. And hopefully some other people will be able to be there too. Okay, thanks again. Bye.